Don't waste best opportunity of your life holding the wrong coins. In today's video, I will show you a practical example of how you can basically be switching your old coins into altcoins in order to have more multipliers in the upcoming cycle. That's very, very important, and that's something that I'm going to do myself with some of the tokens in my portfolio as well. Because the main mistake that I've done in the bear market, I was buying tokens, I was getting into the market, but I was buying the tokens of the previous cycle. Therefore, they were going down, and the tokens of new cycle, they were going up because they're new and they never saw a bull market before. That's the mistake I made, and it already costed me several $1 million. If I would just put the amount of funds I was putting in the bear market in new tokens, I would do way better. The example of old coin I would like to check out is basically Phantasma. It's the coin from the previous cycle. It has 19 million market cap at this stage, and fully diluted market cap is also 19 million, almost 20, right? And it's also on Ethereum and BNB smart chain blockchains as well, ecosystems, right? Interesting thing is that as we see, fully diluted is exactly the same as a market cap. And some people might say, wow, it's bullish. We will not have dilution. It's bullish. We will not have investors dumping on us and things like that. But the main issue with that is because there might be no manipulator left in the token. So it's not PvP token at this stage, it's PvE token, right? So it only will pump if essentially retail would come in, understand the project, understand the updates, and buy into the token as well. And the same thing essentially in terms of the investors. Maybe they will provide OTC deal to someone to give some tokens to this person. Maybe they will not. So no one basically knows this thing. Essentially what I am suggesting, what I am proposing to do from my end is to swap these old tokens, old coins into new altcoins, because people are all about shiny objects. They like things that are popping up on the market. And it's very interesting that if you are holding altcoin, the market is viewing the altcoin based on traction, based on things that are actually being delivered, partnerships and things like that. But the market is pricing new coins based on promises. Therefore, it's way better. If it's a new team, no one knows how they work, no one expects anything from them. Even small updates, they can pump the price of the token heavily. If it's an old coin, people know exactly what is happening and they demand results. They demand outcomes from the project, which is definitely more bearish on the price than if we essentially have a new token, a new coin on the marketplace, right? So you basically have Phantasma as an example here, but you have basically a bunch of old tokens like Illuvium, like QNT, and a bunch of others as well. And you need to be very careful because the bull market is the opportunity once in 4 years. And you will feel very bad if you will just keep holding all the tokens that would downperform market. In some cases, they would essentially downperform BTC as well, and they would not show access and multipliers that new tokens are essentially showing. It's a very bad feeling and mind state essentially to be in. At the same time, you need to understand that if the token is still in the accumulation period, it still might pump and might show some multipliers. But obviously, the best scenario, the best case is when you're getting multipliers as soon as you can. Therefore, you have this large amount of liquidity, large amount of capital. You can start planting seeds in different tokens, different projects, and essentially multiply your profits like that. That's not the strategy that I'm using. I'm mostly just buying the tokens and I'm holding them, but I'm trying to buy new proper projects of this cycle. The main thing is because I view myself as not a trader. I view myself as an investor. I'm not sure I will be able to sell higher and buy back lower. Therefore, I'm just buying tokens I'm confident in, and then I'm just holding, maybe doing some changes in the process. So one of these changes that I maybe want to do is connected with Soul and Phantasma. I've been looking at this token for quite some time already, and if you would essentially check from the lows of 0.07, the max was like 0.27. So it did a 4x from the lows, but who bought it on the lows? Like if you were buying like a newer token on these lows, you would get like a 10x at these levels. And Phantasma Soul only showed 4x here, and I was buying somewhere here like around 11 or 12 cents. So right now I'm in a bit of profit, but I was also taking a bit of profits at these highs as well. But I still kind of want to change from this token into something new. But you also need to understand that one of the main things in crypto is basically your your entry point. Entry point is very, you can have a great entry point into a scam token. You will still make a bunch of money. And you can have an entry point in a proper project with like best project with foundational, always delivering with marketing, but you can have a bad entry point and your money will just go to zero. Entry point is basically the most important things in crypto. And I do understand that despite the fact it's an older project, my entry point is quite nice because it's pretty much only like 60-50% up from the lows. So I do understand that my entry point is very good. Therefore, it adds additional thought process into my mind. Whether or not should I actually change this token? And the question you might have, what is a good time to change from one token to another one? And the worst thing you can do is to trade your great entry point for a bad entry point. Even maybe for a newer project with more marketing, with more things going on for this newer project, but entry point is crucial in crypto. It's very important. I can't emphasize this enough. It's very important. So what my thought process that I basically have here. Sol is kind of infrastructure project. It even has certain connections to Deepin and things that are happening there as well. Therefore, I'm looking at infrastructure projects of this cycle that are new tokens. First of them is MYRIA, second one is XAI. Same thing you can basically be doing with other tokens, and if you think that there is a project similar to Sol that you would want to switch to, you might do with your project as well. No issues in that. And you don't actually need to switch to the project with the same type of narrative. You can just, I don't know, just take your liquidity in Sol and put it in the meme coin. If you believe in meme coin, if you think it will pump. So I'm just showing based on the example of this similar type of project, gaming infrastructure play, which is quite interesting just by itself, right? So what we do, we basically need to create a chart of connection of charts, of relation of charts of Phantasma Soul to the token that we want to switch to. So in the first place, here on the chart, I basically have the chart of Soul Phantasma in connection to MYRIA. That's basically a chart that shows correlation of price of Soul in connection to MYRIA. When the chart is going up, that means that Soul is expensive in connection to MYRIA. When the chart is going down, it means that Soul is cheap in connection to MYRIA, right? How to create these charts? Very important. You need to understand. You can basically just copy this thing, right? And you change the ticker of the token, and on top of that, you change the exchange that you want to use. Because, for example, we don't have Sol on Binance, and I don't believe that we also have MYRIA on Binance. So if I would put Binance here instead of KuCoin, then the chart would essentially not work. So you need to pick the exchange where you have two of these tokens, or you can actually have one exchange here and the second exchange here. The main thing is that you basically need to have tokens on these exchanges, right? How to understand when is a good time to swap one token into another, right? So basically based on this chart, if this chart is at all-time highs, then you can swap first token into the second one. If this chart is at all-time lows, then it makes sense to swap second token into the first one. That's a classic example of rebalancing your tokens, and this way you can actually increase the amount of tokens without even adding new liquidity into the market. That's a very interesting technique that is being used by expert players on the market as well. And you can use it when the pricing of your portfolio decreasing and when the price of the portfolio increasing as well. Just very important to understand and to not end up taking out of your winners and putting into your losers. And if you're confident about the tokens that you hold, you can be doing these things. It's very profitable on the long enough time frame. So basically, what should we have done here? For example, Friday, July 23rd, 21st, it was very great to switch your Sol into MYRIA. Let's check out what was actually happening on the charts of these two tokens on Friday, 22nd of July. So we basically see that for MYRIA, Friday 22nd, 21st of July was the bottom, the absolute bottom on these tokens. And for Sol, it basically just was a middle of the downtrend. But anyway, this is the beauty of this operation, because when you have chart like this, you don't care about the price of two tokens in connection to dollar. The only thing you care is the price of one token in connection to another one. We see this high, and we understood that at that time, it was very nice to basically switch your Sol tokens into MYRIA. And from that point, basically, MYRIA went on 10x plus, and Sol just did a 4x. So this is very important in these things. And here we are at the low. So if you believe in SOL, if you think it's going to be pumping, you might want to switch some of your MYRIA into SOL. If you believe that SOL is a dead project, altcoin that probably is not going to pump as much as MYRIA, you might want to wait for the additional high, just maybe high like right here on these levels, and just switch all your SOL in MYRIA. That's something you basically might do from your end, right? The other example I wanted to show is basically a connection of SOL to XAI, but XAI is a new token and yeah, it doesn't have a lot of info here. So basically the chart is just straight up flat and we don't have anything happening here. And the main reason for that is because XAI is so more valuable than SOL. And only maybe right now we basically see that SOL starts to go up. So if maybe SOL will be able to reach these levels, 0.26, it might be wise to switch all your SOL tokens into XAI tokens as well. And that would basically mean that you did a rebalance of your SOL tokens into XAI when SOL was the most expensive in comparison to the price of XAI. Very, very important thing. I would also want to show another example just to make sure that we kind of would understand the material and understand what is happening there. It's very important. So one of the interesting things as well, right? We have a connection of SOL to Sparta token, which is the DEX on Arbitrum and the Launchpad as well. And we see that the largest difference was basically on Saturday of November 11. Let's check out what was happening with the price of these two tokens at that time. So what we can see is that SOL on Sparta November 10 had initial pump from the lows, right? But Sparta on Friday, November 10 was basically at the lows. So it was very, very interesting to switch all your SOL assets into Sparta. And you were basically able to catch this move like how many 10x's, 13x's, just crazy. It's also quite interesting to see that this high was formed before the pump on Sparta. And it makes sense because here we basically have Sparta pumping certain axes and obviously the price of SOL in connection to the price of Sparta just going down, 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 and down, right? And at these levels, maybe if you would be able to reach somewhere here, it might be wise to swap your SOL into Sparta as well. But it's quite interesting that when you see these type of movements, when you have two tokens and maybe you're thinking on swapping one tokens into another token, you basically create a chart like this and then you're trying to understand whether or not it's a good time based on the chart, based on the previous chart of the price of these two tokens, whether or not it's actually a good time to be swapping one token for another token. And you can also not swap like all the 100% of the allocation of token you have, you might be playing with 20%, 30%, 40%, 50%, and things like that. And it's also quite interesting to do when you have two tokens that are kind of similar, like maybe VPP and Polkar, like Sui and Aptos. If they are similar, like same team, same market makers, or same narrative, it might be quite interesting to swap from one token to another, if obviously you believe in both of them as well. Thank you very much for watching this video. This is something I wanted to share at this stage. I think it's pretty valuable information as well. Like and subscribe if you like the content and see you in the next one. Bye-bye.